What's going on, guys? I'm Adam from TexasGarage, and this week I've been driving the 2018 Nissan Rogue Sport. So technically this is the 2018.5, so it's a mid-year refresh, and this is the SL all-wheel drive trim. So if you saw my review for the 2017 Nissan Rogue Sport, or you've seen basically any other reviews on it, you should know that the Sport doesn't mean that this is the sporty version of the Nissan Rogue. It just means it's the smaller version of the Nissan Rogue, kind of like you would call your little kid, "Hey, Sport." All right, so if you're like me, you're probably wondering why a 2018 and a half. Nissan wanted to pack this thing with all the right technologies, so they made a mid-year refresh for it. So now you can get the SL trim comes standard with a lot of the radar guided features that you get on the bigger Nissan Rogue. You now get the addition of standard features like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic control, and automatic emergency braking. The intelligent radar guided cruise control is standard now on the SL trims and is optional on the SV trims. And the front grille got a refresh to make room for those extra radars and sensors. So overall, I think my opinion on the exterior of the Nissan Rogue Sport really hasn't changed. It's still a really competent looking vehicle. It definitely fits in with the Nissan lineup. It slots right below that Nissan Rogue and right above their new Nissan Kicks.
And under the hood of the Nissan Rogue Sport is a 2.0 liter four-cylinder engine pushing 141 horsepower and 147 foot-pounds of torque. All that is matched up with a CVT transmission.
All right, so let's move along to the inside and see what's going on in there and take it for a drive. All right, so inside the Nissan Rogue Sport, it's pretty nice. Granted, this is the SL trim, which is one of the top trims, but you get these nice leather seats. The materials around the vehicle are really nice. I like this piano black. Obviously, piano black gets fingerprint smudges, but this actually isn't that bad. Obviously, it's not an Infinity interior or anything higher than that, but it's a good interior for what it is and the price point that we're talking about, which we'll talk about a little bit later. One of my big gripes is the same that I had last year with this vehicle, and that's still the infotainment system. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and its style is just very outdated. Again, if this is targeted for a more youth market, that market is definitely wanting the best technology, and this one just doesn't have that. Now, one of the pieces of tech that I really do like out of this vehicle is the 360 camera. It gives you that bird's eye view looking down, so it's easier to park and make sure you're hitting those lines. This is a small vehicle, so it's already pretty easy to park, but having that extra sense of security is just awesome. And I'm really happy that Nissan incorporates that into more than just their big vehicles or expensive vehicles. Talking some fuel economy, this thing is rated at 24 miles per gallon city and 30 miles per gallon highway. During our entire week driving this thing, we've been averaging 25.1 miles to the gallon, which I think is good. And also consider that number takes into account sitting idle a lot and doing some pretty like acceleration tests and things like that for reviewing this vehicle. All right, so driving wise, we do have that smaller 4-cylinder engine and a CVT transmission, and like I mentioned earlier, the Sport doesn't mean that this is a sporty vehicle. That being said, it is a smaller vehicle and it's pretty agile and nimble, and it drives really well. It handles the highways well, and it handles city streets really well. Something else I really like about this Rogue Sport is the divided cargo area that they have here. It's really innovative and pretty cool. So in any type of business, it's always good to know if what's popular right now is just a fad or a trend that's going to continue long term. Nissan is definitely betting on the small SUV market not being a fad, but being a long-term trend. You can tell this by the focus that they're putting on these small SUVs, and I really think that's a good position to take for Nissan. A few years ago, when I was driving some of the first compact CUVs on the market, I really didn't get it. I didn't get why you would want the taller SUV stance, slower, worse handling. But in today's market and in today's world, it's definitely making more sense with the price coming down for a lot of these SUVs and the price staying just as high for a sedan or a hatchback. It makes a lot of sense for people to jump into these, especially here in Texas, where you get a lot of rough country roads or a little bit of off-roading, a little light off-roading. And these SUVs definitely handle that a lot more competently than a smaller hatchback would. Plus, sitting up a little bit higher and feeling like your vehicle is bigger gives you a lot more confidence on the road, especially if you're driving right next to a big dually truck or an 18-wheeler out on the Texas highways. So with that said, I do understand the Nissan Rogue Sport, but do I think it's the optimal choice if you're looking for a small CUV? And my answer to that is, yeah, why not? There are a lot of great options in this segment right now. First to mind is like the Hyundai Tucson or even the Hyundai Kona. Plus what Honda has out right now is really nice. Ford's trying to really dominate this market with some good options. But I really think this Rogue Sport is a great step for Nissan and would definitely recommend it to somebody wanting to get into one of these size of vehicles. All right, guys, and with that, I'm out of time, but I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below if you've got any more questions on the Rogue Sport. And as always, thanks for watching.